Hello, and welcome to another live. Good to see you. Good to be back. Thank you for joining me. And we have a topic today that we're going to talk about, which is actually raised at the end of last week's live, and it's all about the languages we use with our friends and our loved ones, potentially our partners, people we spend our lives with, and whether or not we change them, and if we can or how we can. And I think the question was about actually changing a home language or getting a partner to help with the language learning process. And I thought it was quite an interesting topic to discuss, but it definitely needs more than just a question at the end of a live. So I felt it deserved its own topic for discussion. And so today I'd like to talk about that. So I will talk through my thoughts and my experience on this topic first, as usual. And then I will come to the questions on Instagram and on YouTube in that order today. And I will also love to hear your thoughts and your experiences as well. In fact, I did ask the question on a number of places, and I want to just see what you came up with for those thoughts. And there were a number of you replied and sort of said that you had switched languages. So I saw people had started speaking a language with a friend and then switched to another language. And I thought that was super interesting to sort of hear that has worked for some of you and that it's gone well. It certainly has been something that I guess has not been easy for everyone. Some of you say it requires a lot of patience, and I agree. And some of you have said that you've actually changed as well for other reasons, for example, political reasons or other reasons like that, which I think is really interesting, particularly at this moment in time. So I find that quite an interesting thing, and I thought actually it is probably worth noting at this moment that we have obviously the situation going on in Ukraine, and we hear Vladimir Zelensky, who was a Russian speaker, who now addresses more and more, as I understand, in Ukrainian, and so there can also be political reasons to change languages, right? So it's not always just to do with friends; it can do with relationships. Languages sometimes can be used as a vehicle for different reasons within a society. And sometimes it can be separatist reasons, sometimes it can be political reasons, and otherwise motivated reasons. I get why this can happen, absolutely, and I understand. My own personal feeling is that a language is a language, and that sometimes if those other reasons take over, in fact, it can be detrimental to the speakers who don't speak the language for that reason. And so they can kind of get all grouped together in one thing. And this certainly has happened for some minority languages in certain countries. And when I say minority languages, I mean local regional languages, not in the sense that minority because they're inferior in any way. I'd actually probably should just correct myself and say I want to prefer to say regional languages instead of minority languages from now on. I've become aware recently of the connotations of minority, in fact, for some people. So I think regional or local or community language is possibly a better way of describing the languages that we refer to often as minority or smaller languages. Sometimes we sometimes say, right, in daily speech, and I get it. It can be easy to say. I'm just going to try and make an effort from now on to use community local languages because I think that they're less weighed down in other thoughts or ideas or impressions, and allow a more neutral perspective. Now, before I start with the topic itself, I would like to remind you, please do subscribe and please do show me likes and loves on the lives when I speak. It's really nice because it shows me that you're first of all engaged and that you're enjoying it, and also yeah, it helps the algorithm as well for other people to find this content, to show that it's useful, hopefully, to other people. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that's really, really kind. And so the question today is this idea of languages in the house. Now, first of all, I want to tell you a story of from my own experience. So when I was at university, I had a very good friend who spoke to me in English, actually. She was from Germany, but she spoke to me in English, and we were friends for 4 years at university. And so we would meet up, we would go out in groups with other people as well, and we got on very, very well. And we had this friendship that grew out of English because I didn't know German at the time, so German wasn't even an option for me to speak. And then I got the chance to go to Germany and to study German intensively in the summer. And the thing that was interesting is she knew I liked languages and had studied languages, and she knew I spoke Swedish at the time and had studied other languages because I was studying them at university. And she said to me, "Call me when you get to the end of your study of German. I'd love to hear how you speak German." And I said, "Okay." This is at a time where obviously we're going back. 1999 was when I was in Germany. So the internet was not what it is today. And didn't have smartphones, even mobile phones. I didn't really have a mobile phone at that point. Um, I to call home was very expensive. It cost a lot of money to call home from Germany to the UK, for example. So I didn't speak very much English at all during my 3 months in Germany. And maybe once a week, I would call my mum just to let her know that I was okay and to speak to my family, to speak to my grandmother. That was about it, really. I didn't speak that often because it wasn't cheap to do that. And in the village where I lived in Germany, everyone spoke German. So if I wanted to do anything, I had to speak German. And so I spoke it every single day, got very used to speaking German every single day. And the only other option I had to speak another language was to go to the ice cream parlor that was run by an Italian family. And I could speak Italian pretty fluently at that point. So I could go and have a very easy, relaxed conversation in Italian. But that was about as far as it went. I couldn't really speak to anyone in English, really. Some people would speak it, but I was there to learn German and they wanted to support me, the ones that could speak English. So we just spoke German. Anyway, the internet wasn't a thing. So we didn't have things like Netflix. We didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have great internet connections. YouTube didn't exist. Instagram, Facebook, and all that obviously didn't exist. The only thing that there was at that point was, I think, Friends Reunited had started, which was a website you could go onto and you could find people you were at school with. And that was kind of like the precursor to all these social media networks, this kind of idea. But there was nothing. So you can imagine, my friend said, "Call me after 3 months. Here's the phone number where I'll be." So I had her phone number, and I got to the end of the 3 months. And we were writing emails to each other. That was kind of the main way of keeping in touch, writing emails. So I would write emails to her and to many other friends and family as well. And I got towards the end of the time, and she was asking me how my German was going. And we were writing in English the whole time. Our friendship was in English. And it got to the end, and she said, "Okay, well, are you ready to talk? Let's speak in German on the phone." And then I spoke in German, and she said to me in German, "That's it. I'm never going to speak to you in English again." And it was a very odd feeling. First of all, I was extremely flattered that a friend of mine that I had an entire friendship with in English wanted to speak to me in German because she thought my German was good enough to be able to do that and maintain a friendship and carry on through German. But very quickly, actually, I actually felt like kind of this grief, this loss of something, because we built an entire friendship on English, and all of our jokes, all of the things that we did, our experiences going out with friends, the things that we talked about, all of our stories, they'd all been in English. And all of a sudden, we were going to be speaking German from now on. And it was absolutely bizarre. To me, it was a really, it was, a, yeah, it was kind of like this, a loss, this feeling of grief, this feeling of having lost a friend and gained a new one. It was almost a bit like that. I don't want to kind of be over dramatic, but at the same time, it really it felt quite quite difficult to accept. And I did, in fact, try to speak in English again a couple of times, and she said, "No, no, we're speaking German. That's it." And she spoke in German, and we met up a few times and stuff after that happened, and everything we did from then on was just in German, and we never spoke English again. And I mean, I got over it obviously eventually, but it was a really big thing for me to the point that I'm telling you about it now. And so when people ask me about changing languages, particularly in friendships and in relationships, I think back to how that felt and how weird it was, that, you know, does it come naturally? Is it easy to do? And certainly there are people who have been working with me with their language journeys, and they've also tried to practice their target language, which the partner speaks at home, and found it quite challenging to stay in the language because you will revert back to the language you're used to using. And I think part of it is to do with you're used to speaking to certain people in certain languages. It's quite a natural thing. It's something that we build up. So changing that can be quite a challenge. The other thing that can be challenging is, particularly when we're learning the language, is we have a limited number of words that we can choose from when we first start. Even when we get to kind of an intermediate level, there's a limited number of words that we can actually use. And so the person who we're speaking to, if they speak the language as a first language or to a first language level, they're going to have a lot more emotions and a lot more experiences tied to the vocabulary and to the expressions. And they're going to have been through a lot more through the language. So, therefore, their word choice is going to be possibly a little more careful than ours. And so sometimes we can choose a word that is a trigger word, has an impact, it raises emotions, it raises memories, it just impacts on that person in a very different way to how it impacts on us as somebody who's learned the language. And I've had experiences of that too. I mean, I've been married to somebody where we speak Macedonian at home and have done for 17 years. So I've definitely been through this experience myself where I didn't have the same vocabulary that I have now, or the same command of the nuances of the language that I have now. Um, and it is absolutely a complete minefield of issues. So when I asked the question, I mean, of is it possible to do this? Can you change your home language? Can you do this in the same way? And I have had other people who have a partner, a spouse, or friends who speak the other language, but they do find it very difficult. And also, the person who they're speaking to finds it difficult to change as well. So, from both sides, it can be a challenge. Sometimes it could be a heritage language that they speak, and actually, they speak your language also as a first language. So that can be even more challenging because you can be in a situation where they've grown up in the country where you're in, the country you're from, and they also speak your language to the same level. And then they have this home language that's different that you're maybe trying to learn. But they learnt it kind of as a home language. Maybe it's kind of this kitchen type way of speaking where you just used it at home and it was never really a language of instruction, they might not feel as confident with it. So that can also feel a bit intimidating as well. So there's an awful lot going on when it comes to changing a language, or using your friends or partners to help you practice a language. And the honest answer when people say, should I do it? Should I change the language? Is you can always try, you can always talk through it. Can you do it? It's slightly more complicated because it depends on you and it depends on the person you're talking to. Can you do it? It becomes the question of, can you as an individual do this? Is it something that you as an individual feel that you can navigate? There are some people that you meet, and I've certainly met people in, particularly in the language learning community, where we have not had any issues going between a few languages. So Luca Lampriello and I, often it's very weird. When we write, we might write in English, or we might say something in English or speak in English over the internet. But very often in person, we will speak in Italian. And we've also had periods where we've spoken in other languages. We had an entire year or so where we spoke in German and Dutch mainly. And yeah, so it's been quite the thing with Emanuele Marini. We've never spoken English. I mean, Emanuele Marini isn't that keen on speaking English, but we also don't really speak Italian. We have done once, maybe in a group setting, but otherwise we speak Serbian and Macedonian and mix and use those two. But then we've also used in other contexts as well, Polish or Turkish or other languages, but an Albanian in once when we were in Albania. But otherwise, we generally stick to those two. And it's funny how we can manage it to some degree, and it doesn't feel very awkward in those contexts. But doing it constantly, changing the language constantly, would be a bit strange. And I think even for that as well, it you get into a rhythm, you get into a routine, and you get to know the person. You, as I say, the jokes and the stories all are through the lens of that language. So it gets very complicated. So the person who asked me the question asked about Czech, and is it possible to use the option of I think it was a girlfriend that was mentioned for that. Try it out and see. You can see if it works. If it's not your usual language that you speak, then you can just try it and see how it goes. You can even do it that you say maybe you have a day or a certain hour where you speak. If you want to try it that way, that could possibly work. Take some of the pressure off. Other things you could do are maybe like having set things, particularly if you can't you don't feel particularly comfortable speaking about every single thing in the language yet, or you don't have the same choice of words that maybe you'd like to have, to be sensitive, to be nuanced. So for that, I think maybe what you could do is have things that you want to talk about and ask questions, and see if just practicing certain things. So maybe set times, set days that you ask for help and practice. And I do know people who do that as well, that they will have a partner who speaks a particular language, and they actually have the questions ready. So it's not so intimidating. It's all prepared. It's ready. It's there. There's a set topic, set questions, and you can kind of go from there. So yeah, that's kind of where I fall on this. I'm happy to answer any questions, of course. Remember to like the video on YouTube and on Instagram. I have more people as normal. I have a lot more people on YouTube watching than I have likes. So please do remember to like the video so that I can see the support, and also so the algorithm can hopefully reach new people as well who want to hear things that I have to say about language learning and maybe feel encouraged. I'm very happy to have these weekly catch-ups so that more people can can get questions answered that they want. It helps to inspire the topics each week. So even if I don't get to all of the questions, sometimes the questions will come up again and you'll get the answer at some point. You're also welcome to join me on Patreon and ask questions there too. I'm very, very happy to be in touch with you if you would like something more personalized as well. So feel free to reach out. The links are on my website, speakingfluently.com, and also in the description on the YouTube video. Okay, so let me go back through Instagram first, and then I'll go to YouTube, and I'll just see the questions that I have and answer them as best I can. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. Thank you all for coming, by the way. It's good to see you all, so many of you, and for all of the nice Kazakh istersen. Selam kaka. Nerelersin? Oh, where am I from? So Britanyalıyım. Ben Türkçe konuşurum. Dili Azerce mi? Bilmiyorum. Ama evet, Britanya'dan geliyorum. Ama Üsküp'te. Şimdi Üsküp'teyim. Evet. I hope you I hope to see everyone in Terracin soon. Yeah, that would be lovely. I look forward to the Polyglot gathering in Terracin myself. Okay. Görüşeli diyorsun. Çok teşekkür ederim. Let me see. And seeing lots of just love. Thank you very much. Such kind comments, kind things to say. Thank you. It's so nice to see sort of like the kind hearts and stuff coming through. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, let me see if I can see any other questions. That grief part was unexpectedly moving. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was. I mean, it really did feel like that. It was very strange. It was a very strange thing. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad it struck a chord because yeah, I think when I think about it in those terms, sometimes I think, am I over exaggerating? Am I kind of, but it really did. It really did feel like that. I felt quite sad. I felt happy because it was a huge compliment. I mean, it was the biggest compliment she could have given me. The biggest compliment. I mean, what kind of, you know, I'm now going to speak to you in German from now on because she thought my German was so good, and that was just a huge compliment from someone I really respected. I still respect her. We've not been in touch for a while, but we not through any issues, just because life's like that. Sometimes you fall out of touch because of one thing and another moving around and different things in families. But somebody I really respect, and so it was, yeah, it was super weird. It was really, really weird for that to happen. How am I doing? I'm doing fine, thank you. Yeah, I am doing fine. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, as I say, it took a while for me to get used to that, but it was very odd. Um, hola Ricardo. Son tus vídeos y me han inspirado mucho. Y el tuyo es fuerte y empeño. Muchas gracias, lo agradezco mucho. Muchas gracias, lo agradezco. A ver. As Muslim, yes, Muslim, yes. Nice to see you, Muslim. Thank you for joining. Yeah, we'll be in touch about Kazakh again, I'm sure. Hola, una vez, una situación en que tuvimos que comunicarte algo urgente en un idioma que no habla bien. Sí, pues si tienes alguna cosa, me puedes escribir, me puedes también, pues por aquí, por ejemplo, si quieres escribir algo en los comentarios aquí, debajo del vídeo, pues puedo responder o puedo también tomar como un tema, como una idea para hablar otra vez o otra semana, ¿no? También es posible. A ver. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your comments, for your waves, for your loves, for your likes. I appreciate it. It really does help. Do you speak Catalan? Yeah, so yeah, I studied Catalan at university in Prague many years ago. So I can communicate in Catalan still, I believe. How well I communicate in Catalan, how correct my Catalan is now, is possibly another story. But I think I'd be able to communicate still in Catalan, sì, sì, senza moltos problemes, perché és una llengua que vaig aprendre a l'Universitat Carolina de Praga. Doncs per a mi és una llengua i també com el castellà que vaig fer la meva carrera d'idiomes a l'Universitat de Hull en Anglaterra. Doncs és una llengua similar i també tinc estudiat també moltes llengües altres, tinc estudiat moltes llengües altres, com per exemple el francès, el portuguès i l'italià també. Doncs sí, amb totes les llengües de la mesma família és més fàcil parlar més llengües de la mateixa família. Ni hao. Ni hao, ni hao. I'm interested in hearing the language. Yeah, it's in the language in German, or my German. I mean, I speak German quite often on these lives and in different places. I'm sure you'll hear me at some point. The thing is, your content is very good, and I usually take notes when you share something and use it for foreign language acquisition. I guess the problem is human nature, because people want to acquire fluency. Yeah, really, if that's yeah. It's first of all, it's extremely flattering that you're taking notes when I'm speaking. That's really flattering. So thank you. Secondly, yeah, you're exactly right. It's super difficult. I am very much of the opinion that um, look, I could write things down and sell a book, or I could sell a course or something, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I would have to preface it with things like, if this is you, then this. Possibly it might work for some people, but this is the thing, right? Courses and everything else, I mean, they're produced for many people. And if you're able to take out what works for you, then it can be fantastic. And there are some really good things out there. There are some really good materials. The issue is that for every individual is different. So there's going to be a slight difference. And if we can't quite see what works for us and how to manipulate and change that material, it can be quite challenging. And that's where I find that having these kinds of lives and doing the Patreon stuff and having the groups that I work with, and the individuals I work with for language learning, I find I'm just able to answer for their specific needs and hit the spot as well more often, because it's easier to, when you know more about the individual, you can tailor the packaging and the material and how it's delivered definitely in a more meaningful way, which you can't do if you write a generic thing. I've got nothing. As I say, I've got nothing against generic things. I think we need to have things for the whole market, right? Not everyone can spend time going through individual questions all the time. Not even me. It would be impossible to talk to every single person, but but I do think that there's a lot of benefit in that, particularly if you know that you want to learn a language and you're having difficulty, or there are some issues that you want to work through, or you want to kind of get through a barrier. Then yeah, that's where I think it can be particularly useful. And if people are watching this and finding it useful and taking notes, then I'm extremely happy. Um, OK，会说中文吗？一点儿，一点儿，但是不太好。呃，因为我住在马其顿，但我在马其顿没有很多中国人。嗯，是我明白一点儿，是，嗯，我学了100年中文， 在日本的大学，大兰纳的大学。Why is it doesn't react or so it doesn't attract much attention? So you, Richard, it's human nature. Why does what? Sorry, why does FLA not attract? Oh my word, I'm having difficulty seeing that actually. Other one. It's human nature. Yeah, it is human nature. Absolutely, human nature. I agree. Okay. I think I've reached. Oh no, I haven't reached the end. I thought I'd reached the end. Hola, hola, tudo bem, tudo bem, tudo bem. I usually speak sarcasm. Did you? Is that what you've written? Sarcasm, because people from the, what was it? From want to always get grounded. Oh, that speaks volumes of how evil. What? I don't understand what you mean. Be tripping. What word? I don't quite know what you mean. Sorry, I don't understand. Great to see you too. Thank you so much for joining. I'm planning a trip to Andorra and need to learn Catalan. Yeah, Catalan's great. Yeah, in Andorra they speak. The people I met, they tended to speak all three. They spoke Catalan, and a lot spoke French and German, French and Spanish as well. So yeah, but it's cool. Andorra's nice. I've been. It's a nice place. How you doing? But yes, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing better. I wasn't so great for a couple of weeks, but I'm doing better now. Thank you very much. Herr Richard, ich freue mich, dich zum Polyglot Gathering kennenzulernen. Ja, schön. Ja, danke. Sich dort. Ja, ja, dann ich werde ja ganz sicherlich da sein. Ich meine, ich habe schon meine Fahrkarte gekauft und ja, ich freue mich auch. So, du solltest eigentlich zu mir kommen und Hallo sagen, okay? Sonst ist es ja eigentlich, es gibt so viele Leute und es ist ja völlig unmöglich, mit allen zu reden. Und wenn du unbedingt mit mir sprechen möchtest, dann ja, komm mal einfach. Und, du kannst mit mir sprechen. Ich werde dort auch sprechen, also, und du kannst auch eine Frage stellen oder du kannst ja zu mir kommen, so ähm, am Ende des Gespräches und dann kannst du mit mir reden. Das ist ja, es ist immer gut. Oder wenn du mich einfach so zufällig dort irgendwo triffst, dann kannst du mir auch oder siehst, dann kannst du eigentlich rüberkommen und Hallo sagen. Und so. Es ist für mich immer schön. Hello, Richard. Which languages does your wife speak? Oh, okay. Does she enjoy learning languages too? Do you think we will ever see a beardless Richard again in the future? You okay, the beard thing, well, I mean, possibly if you want to look at old pictures. I don't know. I've not made a decision about that. Possibly, who knows? My wife does speak other languages too, and she, in fact, studied languages at university as well. And so she speaks the Balkan languages and English. Obviously, we've lived in the UK as well as in the Balkans. She also speaks the local regional languages of sort of Serbian and Croatian and Bulgarian and whatever. She studied actually the literature and all of that of those languages. So she studied Slavic languages and literature. So she's pretty well read and pretty up on her stuff. She's done courses in Russian and what else she's done? She's done a few other languages as well. It's a long time ago now for university, but yeah, she does speak a number of languages. We don't do that together. We do as a family because we have a lot of contact with people who speak particularly Serbian or a language like that, then we do often need to use those languages because it's quite common. Bulgarian as well. We'll often have to use, and then obviously if anybody uses English, my wife will speak English, and she's very proficient in it. But yeah, that's kind of what we do. But generally at home we only speak Macedonian. I mean, I speak sarcasm. I spark sarcasm at home because people at home are annoying. Americans like, okay. Okay, thank you for explaining that to me. See, I'm having an American English lesson as well. I feel extremely honored. Вы знаете русский? Да, я знаю. Well, я говорю по-русски, потому что я работал в Кишиневе. И мне там говорят по-русски и по-румынски. И поэтому надо говорить по-русски тоже. Да. Do you speak Russian? Я говорил тоже по-русски сейчас. Ну, это для меня тоже очень важный язык, потому что, но когда я путешествую, я использую русский язык с людьми. Я был в Казахстане, например, и, в Кыргызстане, тоже в Праге. Я говорил по-русски иногда с людьми там, которые не говорят по-чешски. Тоже где еще? На Кипре говорил по-русски, тоже в Израиле говорил по-русски, в Хайфа там очень много русскоговорящих. И тоже в Стамбуле тоже говорил по-русски. Да это очень хороший язык, если хочешь путешествовать и не говорить только по-английски или еще дальше языке. И очень много людей из России не говорят хорошо по-английски или я не знаю, по локальному языке. Например, и поэтому, это тоже славянский язык, и это значит для меня хорошо, я говорю с ошибками сейчас, потому что это не один из языков, что я говорю каждый день сейчас. Конечно, русский язык нет язык здесь в Скопье, но потому что это тоже славянский язык, это только живет в моем голове, и поэтому, да, и с ошибками коммуникация не очень трудная по-русски. На русском. Извините. Okay. Let me see. Is learning two languages at the same time from beginning possible? It is possible. You do separate your time, you divide your time when you learn more than one at one time. So yes, it's possible, but you divide your time. I actually started Italian and Portuguese at the same time at university, and it worked, but it took a lot of being very strict and a lot of study. Can an intermediate English learner reach basic ESL English as second language? Oh, can they teach? Sorry, teach. My poor eyes trying to read these small comments. Sorry. Yeah. There are courses to learn to teach English. An intermediate English learner. I mean, look, you can teach whatever you know to another person, right? So you can possibly look at to see how that would work, but there are certainly I'm of the opinion that if you know something and another person doesn't, and they can learn something from you, then it's already a plus for them, right? If they're not learning it. So possibly there are courses though to teach English in an official way. They're often called TEFL courses, teaching English as a foreign language, TEFL. So yeah, I did one of those many moons ago. Ok, è la prima volta per me nel gathering. Sono un po' timido, ma voglio essere più aperto. Parlarti sarebbe cosa? Sarebbe passo avanti. Grazie mille. Oh, prego, veramente non ci sono problemi. Per me io parlo con tutti, insomma anche ci sono delle persone, anche degli amici con chi parlo molto molto spesso e per me non ci sono problemi, anche non però non aver paura di parlare con me, perché sono completamente una persona normale. Allora io non io faccio anche errori, non non parlo sempre con la grammatica perfetta. Allora anche per me io sto imparando, sto facendo, tutto il mio meglio per imparare, per continuare con il mio viaggio, col mio cammino, per imparare meglio tutte le mie lingue. Allora, senza problemi vieni, parli con me, ehm, ci sarò. Allora, aperto a tutto. Vieni, parli con me, puoi parlare con me. Sì. Richard, can you speak Spanish, please? Um, Ask me something in Spanish. Si quieres, me puedes preguntar algo en español. Lo que pasa es que es un poco raro para mí responder en un idioma si tengo una pregunta en otro idioma. Pero bueno, si quieres preguntarme algo, pregúntame algo. Do you speak Kazakh? No, I don't, but I have an offer to learn. I will probably take that offer up at some point. I would like to learn. My pleasure. Let me know if you want to speak proper English. It's American English. You're funny. You're funny. Oh my word. That's like really cool. Yeah, I'd love to speak American English. I mean, like properly, like really, like a good American English, not this fake American English that I speak right now. I mean, it's cool, right? I like it, but it's not my usual way of speaking. I mean, it's real cool. I like it a lot. Yeah. Um, you can maybe help me with that. We can do like a language exchange where you can learn British and I'll learn American, and it'd be cool. Um, you're Ecuadorian. Well, nice to have you here from Ecuador. Lovely to see you. Okay, let me see. My American accent's pretty good. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I mean, I love doing an American accent. It's something actually my daughter doesn't like me doing a lot, but I find it fun, and it's I don't know, after a while, I actually find it quite natural to just slip into an American accent and speak that way for yeah, just for kicks, right? For fun. And it's quite a fun thing to do. Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. Probably, I mean, sometimes I'll like get a bit goofy with it, I'll start, oh my word, man, like, the surf's really rad, dude. Going to like, like really like surfer speak. Or you can like go down south, more southern type of accent, that kind of style of American accent. I found that quite the thing to do. I really like it. So I don't do that very often, but hey, it's a lot of fun. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's it. The Valley Girl, my Valley Girl accent. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that to me right now. It's like so bad. I can't believe it. Oh my God. It's my kind of Valley Girl. Really? Like, really? You are so not serious right now. Like, so not serious. Okay. It's very goofy me. But yeah, I like these. The British seem to be good at accents. Yeah, the American. I mean, we hear a lot of accents actually in the UK. So like we'll hear shows from the US and Australia and different places. So we I don't know if everyone in the UK does this, but yeah, a lot of people do. I think you just go into these sort of yeah, I like accent. I do quite like playing around with accents. They're not going to be perfect, so I mean, I don't make those videos where I do lots of these lots of the accents, but it's a lot of fun. a lot of fun to play around with, and I do them because I like them and I respect them. So yeah, it's kind of fun to have play around with accents. Do you believe in neurological limits, the amount of languages you can learn? I have no idea. I'd have to ask somebody who's a neuroscientist. It would be super difficult for me to answer that. I think that the biggest limit is actually time, like going through and recalling and getting the languages, using them a lot. I think that's the biggest issue, more than anything else. Wow, thank you for all the love and the likes on Instagram. Wow, that's really, really sweet. Thank you. That's so nice. You like the accents, I guess. Maybe I should just do an entire live where I just speak in different accents. This is what happens if I ever speak I've spoken at schools before, and it always ends up them asking me to speak a language in a different accent. So they'll say, speak Spanish with a German accent, or so then I end up speaking Spanish with a German accent, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah. So hola, ¿qué tal estás? O estoy bien, estoy hablando español con acento alemán. Me gusta mucho hablar con la gente. Uh, and they think it's a wonderful thing to be able to do this. But of course, it gets a bit crazy because I get very odd requests. It started actually. I used to do it in many different languages, where I'd switch the accents over from a language. When I was living in Germany, there was an advert on TV by a Finnish French accent. Oh, there was a TV advert by Mika Hakkinen who was a racing car driver from Finland, and he made this. He did this advert and he spoke in German, and his accent, his Finnish accent, was really strong in this. So he said, "Er wohl hinter dem Mond," and he spoke German in this really Finnish accent, which I thought was super cute. And yeah, so I started kind of trying to imitate these kinds of things, and I found it a lot of fun. ¿Cómo podría mantener un nivel de inglés alto si no convivo con personas que existe alguna aplicación como en internet? Hablando con gente por internet, por ejemplo, podría ser una idea. Y comunicando con personas, también mirando cosas en internet, en línea. Eso sí que me ayuda bastante a mí también. Y pues después de mi tiempo en Alemania, pues me fui para trabajar utilizando mi alemán más tarde. Y tenía la tele en alemán y con la tele siempre puesta en alemán todos los días en Inglaterra, y trabajaba en alemán, y así continué realmente a desarrollar mi alemán y llegar hasta un nivel bastante alto para utilizarlo mucho en el trabajo con los clientes y tal y cual, y eso sí que me ayuda bastante. Y sí que es posible, si tiene paciencia para hacer todo esto con la tele y con internet, sí que ayuda bastante. Okay, I'm going to go back to YouTube and see if I can answer the questions there as well. I'm conscious I haven't answered all the questions. Buona zua, Tiffany. Chin Fudge. Let's see, Jesus Hapatello from Venezuela. Hello. Good night from Indonesia. Okay. Okay. Nice to see you, Malam. Malam, is that you're saying it for like you're going to bed? In English, we tend to say good night when we're going to sleep, but I know that in other places you do. So you would say, salamat malam, salamat datang, salamat malam. Itu biasanya di Indonesia, no. Okay, let me see. Good evening from Czech Republic. Good evening. Thank you for focusing this video on the question I asked last week. Me and my partner are looking forward to it. Go, George. Well, thank you very much. I hope I did you service answering the question. I hope it worked. Jesus, just after Mas. Okay, nanti kamu dari mana? Oh, aku dari Yogyakarta. I'm reading your. I'm going to read your conversation now. Of course, I won't read everything. I like seeing Indonesian. I love it. I think it's cool. Richard, when were you speaking German? When were you speaking German early on? Were you making a lot of mistakes with German cases? Yeah, I still make mistakes every now and again with things. It's normal. It's normal. It really is. But yeah, I made more and more mistakes when that, earlier on, I would make a lot of mistakes. I'd say all sorts of nonsense. Yeah, it's completely normal. What was your last? Oh wow. Why didn't you think of that before? Idea in language learning. Oh, oh wow idea. Why didn't I think of that before? I get you, like kind of this eureka moment thing, right, Kevin? Good question. I sometimes have these cycles where I think I've tried most things now in language learning. It's been a while since I've been since like 40 years. It's been a while. But I think for me, really in recent years, letting go of judgment, letting go of the psychological barriers that we construct for ourselves, that's been the most liberating thing for me in language learning. Not blaming myself, not feeling guilt or that I'm not good enough, or that's been the thing for me, has been the most important thing, I'd say. And that came after the kind of trying what works. Yeah, not feeling, recognizing when it's important to take a break, recognizing when it's important to reevaluate. The psychological stuff, I think, has become, super. I mean, I think that's been my probably the last eureka moments, and then that's kind of, it keeps on defining itself as the years go on. I find that I'm always learning about me and about how I react to things as well, and also but it's amazing. I mean, I see different people on different journeys. I mean, I see comments from people, or even videos that you can see people are struggling, right, with their own. Sometimes they'll attack because the only way to deal with their own insecurities is to attack, and they'll feel threatened. And you can see there's a struggle going on there, right? So I think letting go of all of that for me is probably the thing, which is why I always talk about this holistic view and point of view for language learning. I think it's really important that we give ourselves some credit and we're kind to ourselves, and that we give ourselves a break. We're doing something positive by learning a language, and I think that's really, really cool. Let me see. All my German friends only want to talk to me in English because my German sucks. Oh, JR, I'm so sorry. I'm sure you'll turn it around. I'm sure look, I mean, it depends where you are. There's a language etiquette to this. So if you're in a country where they are learning your language, then there's a language etiquette. They've made the effort to come to your country to practice your language. So if that's the case, then my advice would be one thing. If it's you in their country, then that changes things quite a lot. So let me know, and we can talk about that. Maybe language etiquette might be a good topic, actually. What do you think? Would you like a language etiquette thing? What I think is right and wrong, or good and bad, or things you can do. I've talked a little bit about that in the past, I know, but sometimes it's good to revisit things, and also good to sort of put things together as well in different ways, right? I found that my language choice is context specific. It feels strange when I speak to certain friends in English because we don't normally use it for conversation. Absolutely, yeah. Certain people, I completely get that, Tiffany. Absolutely. Monosari tinggal Barner. Nasi goreng. Yeah, I can. Yeah, gebratne rijst. In German and Dutch, we use yeah, gebraden for only for meat. Yes, 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 yes. I just read German as Dutch, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, yeah, nasi goreng is fun. We have a lot of these Indonesian words in Dutch, and Dutch words in Indonesian. Okay, let me see. Subconscious rules. I have subconscious rules for which language to speak with different people and different situations. When I try to change them by speaking the wrong language with someone, everything falls apart. Yep. Yeah, Brunüble, yeah, absolutely. I know that feeling. And it's a challenge, right? I think the key is how hard is it, and is it worth the fight for what you get at the end? And sometimes it's worth the challenge. So you have to decide how that can work and make sure things are happy still. This is the important thing. Make sure you keep the balance of sort of, yeah, the relationship as well in check. Okay, let me see. When was the last time you spoke in Swedish? I've been taking it. I've been taking it away, and they're not extensive, like just like in German language. It's not that extensive, just like the German language. So, weirdly, yeah, I do use Swedish. I spoke it in person with another human being in person, like about a week or so ago. There are some Swedish speakers actually here, and I do use it with them. I have used it quite a lot for work, and also online. I'll often see or read Swedish, so fairly often, more than you'd expect, I think. But yeah, it's not. I'd hear more Swedish or have more opportunity to practice Swedish than say Chinese, for example. Yeah, strange, eh? But Javanese has more than, okay, I think this is the other conversation. Speaking foreign languages really gets us closer to people in culture and relationship ways. Absolutely, Flavio. I have a question for you. Why are there so many people who believe that English is the only useful language and that learning other languages is a waste of time? Ultimate moralizer. Ooh. Do you know, it's an interesting topic. I want to talk about that more than I can in this answer. Do you mind if we come back to that ultimate moralizer? I'd prefer to keep that one and talk about it in another live, because I think it's a really good question, and I think it's a good thing to go into. And reasons for learning languages is definitely good. Yeah. So let's come back to that. Hope you don't mind me doing that, but I would like that. Bruno, your story made me realize that my ex and I only managed to switch languages completely after we split up. Yeah, relationships can be really solid in a language, right? So it can be quite tricky. What's the Albanian dialect you recommend us to learn? Are they mutually intelligible? Flavio, well, let's be honest. The one that is in the books is the Tosk version. In sort of the books that you'll buy. Discovering Albanian is a book that says that it teaches you the varieties here. Now, I've read through that book, and some of the variations that they talk about, particularly some of the months of the year and some of the ways of the numbers, I've asked my Albanian friends here, and they have never heard, because I'd never heard them said, and they said they've never heard them said either. So I don't know how good the resources would be to learn. For example, the Albanian spoken where I am, or the Albanian spoken in Kosovo, or in the north of Albania. I think that would be quite like the Geg dialects. The Albanian spoken here is often mixed with other things. So people throw in an entire phrase in Macedonian or Serbian, or and people generally use more Turkish words. So yeah, maybe the Albanian from Albania. The only thing is, Albanians from Albania do like to sort of show that they speak English, particularly, and will often, even if you're speaking in Albanian, and they will often try to speak English to show that they can speak it. And they like to, it's kind of a prestige thing, I think, in the culture. They want to be able to show you, and they don't mean anything bad by it. It's just they want you to speak. Let me see. Yeah, but yeah, that's probably the best one. I mean, and the Discovering Albanian course is actually pretty good. The other alternative is the colloquial. The latest colloquial one, though, if you're going to use that, the former edition, I found slightly problematic. So not the dark blue cover, the new cover. So if you're looking at them, let's see. What's the other? Okay, let's see. I hit the like. Great to see you. Thank you. Please do hit the like. Remember to hit like. It shows that you're enjoying it to the algorithm. George, I'm a musician and I hear this phrase a lot. No music is difficult, simply unfamiliar. Do you think that also applies to language learning? Very good. Very good question. Yes, I think it can. Yeah, because languages are basically they require so much practice and repetition until they become automatic and normal. So there was a phrase that I think I've quoted a few times before, but it's worth quoting again. Language learning is overlearning. It's learning to the point of saturation that it becomes automatic, that you can just say it. And that's basically what language learning is. From the language you learn from your parents, where you practice and say the same things over and over again, get them wrong, get them corrected, get them right eventually. And yeah, I think there's a lot. What you said there, I think I can definitely identify with that. Tripping means like not acting or thinking. Tripping, yeah, not acting or thinking properly. Okay, tripping. Yeah, I've heard it before. It comes out in some films and music, but it's one of those things. Yeah, it feels. But it's one of those things that culturally for me, it's quite different in terms of like my normal use of English. So it's not something I would naturally use. I don't know if people in the UK do actually. I think it might be very much more an American thing. Let me see. First of languages. I can't imagine trying to learn German in 1999. It was way easier to. It was actually way easier to learn languages in 1999 than it is now for a number of reasons. That might be another topic. Partly right, but I'm gonna explain this quite quickly. So technology has brought us some really cool things. You can create your own world. You can have things, and use in Germany. It was super expensive, and talking on the phone was expensive and all that stuff. And the internet wasn't there, and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't easy from that point of view. But when you were in the country, you were in the country. You were not. You couldn't surround yourself in your little bubble from back home. You didn't have all your friends writing to you constantly or getting updates from them constantly on Facebook or anything like that, or on Instagram or whatever it is you use on social media. You didn't get phone calls on WhatsApp and wherever else. It was you were in the country and you were speaking that language, or you weren't doing very much of anything at all. That was kind of it. The TV was in that language, and that was it. I mean, the TV, I either watched TV in German or I didn't watch TV at all. They were the choices. There weren't any other choices. So I know what you probably mean by thinking it might be hard, or you can't imagine learning German in 1999. But yeah, it was actually way easier in a lot of ways, because you had no choice. You had to speak and you had to learn. The only way you can imagine it is if you turn off all of your devices and you just go and sit in front of a TV in Germany, and then speak to the locals, and you never speak. you basically go completely silent on everyone all at once. Okay, I like it though. Mi experiencia de español es un poco mal porque personas escuchan mi español y hasta diferente conmigo cuando tengo un acento nativo y conozco toda la jerga del país. Esta persona de... Ajá. Vale, es que, claro, hay diferencias entre las variedades de español que hablan. Y, y sí que, claro, también hay que pasar por varios niveles de idioma, con el acento, con la pronunciación, con la gramática, con el vocabulario también. Así que resulta bastante difícil pasar por toda esta etapa del aprendizaje del idioma. Y eso para mí también pasó igual. Sí, con todos los años hablando, practicando, estudiando, trabajando en español. Y hasta un cierto punto sí que se convirtió en algo normal, pero después de muchos esfuerzos, después de mucho trabajo y muchos estudios, pero sí que te entiendo. Richard, do you find German more difficult than Romance languages like Spanish, Italian, French, and Portuguese? No. No, because it's a Germanic language like English, so I don't find it particularly more difficult. Different, but not. I don't know more difficult. I don't know. I don't think it is. Certain institutions wouldn't agree with me because of the cases. I know that in terms of like the Foreign Office in the UK, it's at a slightly higher level in their difficulty rating for an English speaker. So, but I can't say that I found it a lot more difficult than the others than the Romance languages. But there again, I did speak Swedish before I learned German. That did help a lot. Okay, your American accent's pretty. Thank you. Okay, I speak both English and Swedish to a Swedish friend, depending on the topic. Tech in English, tutorial jargon, but discuss society in Swedish since we don't have to translate cultural words. Yeah, that also can be an option as well. For me, it would be strange to learn myself to speak just Swedish with that friend. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it works in two languages, you can. I mean, I had friends in Switzerland, and they would go from Swiss German to Italian, and they would mix the languages, the code switch all the time. And when I was sort of in that group, it felt very funny doing that. So yeah, I was 1 second. I'll be back in 1 second. My cat's meowing. Come on. Okay. This is my cat, Tiger. He was just meowing. He wanted to come in. Okay. Okay, you have to listen to a language to understand the accent. Yeah, it takes lots of time. Yes, absolutely takes time. Ricardo, tienes Well, I knew German and Turkish kids in Portugal that learned English, and they ended up speaking English with a Portuguese accent. Just trying not to laugh is what it is. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, when you sort of accents mix. Some people don't even try to do the accent when they learn language. It's cool that you try to do the accents. I see the accent, the pronunciation for me is the important thing. If the accent happens to be fairly good or convincing, then great thing. I do see the front look. So when you look at a grammar book, right, the grammar book starts with a cat now wants to go out. I am a cat doorman. Okay, go on then. And the cat has left the room. So so if you get a grammar book or a book on a language to teach you a language, it has phonology as part of it. And so it teaches you the sounds of the language. And there's a really good reason why, because the sounds of the language are part of the language. And so I think it is important to pay attention to it as well. That doesn't mean we have to have a perfect accent or anything like that, but we do have to make a bit of an effort out of our comfort zone sometimes to try and sound different to our regular way of speaking, because otherwise we're not necessarily getting into the full thing of the language. And we do this naturally when, for example, we speak to friends or we speak to university professors, or we speak at an interview or speak on the phone. We might change our voice or our accent or pronunciation slightly to be clearer, or more in the in group so that we sound a certain way. And it's really an extension of that is the whole pronunciation and accent with languages. But it is part of the language, and showing respect to the language, I think there is kind of a need to look at pronunciation, to look at the phonology of language, and to make an effort to pronounce it. It may not be perfect, and that doesn't matter either. The important thing is clarity of communication. Some languages, particularly, they're not used to people having very strong, very different pronunciation of their language and the words in the language. So they won't necessarily understand if you speak and you haven't made any time to pronounce it properly, as they're used to hearing it. So some languages can handle that better than others. English is particularly good at understanding a variety of accents, but other languages not so much. Also possibly a topic for another day as well. Okay. Let me see. Ĉu vi konas la lingvon interslava? Yes, mi konas ĝin, sed mi ne parolas ĝin. Mi nur konas ĝin. Mi komprenas ĝin, ĝi estas tre facila lingvo por mi kompreni, sed lerni kaj paroli ĝi estas alia afero. Ŝajnas al mi ke mi ne aprenus ĝin. Ĝi estus por mi tre malfacila proceso havi la diversajn slavajn lingvojn, kaj ankaŭ paroli ilin bone. Ŝajnas al mi tre malfacila afero, kaj mi ne faras tion. Sed ĝi estas tre interesa lingvo, kaj mi ekzistas ankaŭ en TikToko, mi pensas, en la lingvo, kaj mi tre ĝojas ankaŭ aŭdi ĝin, sed ĝi estas tre malfacila por mi paroli. Mi pensis lerni ankaŭ la interlingvon. Interlingvo estas tre interesa lingvo, kaj ekzistas ankaŭ personoj, homoj en interreto, kaj ili parolas ĝin, kaj ĝi estas vere tre interesa lingvo. Ankaŭ Esperanto por mi estas ankaŭ interesa lingvo, sed mi nur parolas ĝin en konferencoj, kaj tiel plu. En la urbo ĉi tie tute ne ekzistas esperantistoj en kluboj, kaj ĝi estas tre malfacile uzi ĝin. Svetlana says, Richard can pass for a native at the language he learns because actually, Svetlana, I haven't studied linguistics. Well, I've studied some linguistics, but I haven't studied linguistics. A lot of the linguistic kind of knowledge that I have often would come from having studied languages, multiple languages, but I can't declare myself a linguist. I would not do that. But obviously there are some crossovers with the things I've studied with the field of linguistics. But yeah, but thank you very much for I feel quite honored that you thought that I'd studied linguistics. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Você já estuda uma língua apenas para aprendê-la?
Para aprendê-la? Sim, claro. Com várias línguas, assim. Eu gosto somente, assim, de falar com gente para usar a língua. Então, para entendê-la, desculpa, não para aprendê-la, para entendê-la. Sim, havia na universidade ah, a forma velha de islandês. Estudei durante um ano para usá-lo, para fazer traduções e coisas assim, para ler histórias na língua mesma. Então, sim, eu tenho feito isso para várias línguas, outras línguas também, para entender melhor, para compreender a língua falada, ou também para ler coisas, textos na língua mesma. Também, às vezes, sim, tenho feito isso também. Gosto muito de fazer isso, mas é uma coisa que eu gosto mais de falar com a gente. Então, para mim, a ativação da língua numa forma, num ambiente também mais natural, para mim é uma coisa que me motiva muito mais. Então, sim, mas tenho feito isso, sim. Tenho experiência disso. Bonsoir, bonsoir, Chanel. I had a look at Interslavic once. Yeah, Interslavic's cool. The code I recently learned to get over had the same level before a language. Richard, do you think learning French and German made your English better? Absolutely, JR. I absolutely think that German and French made my English better. Absolutely. It's one of the reasons why I decided to teach them to my daughter, because I knew that they would help her later on with English literature and English grammar. So, yes, absolutely. Great question. Yes, with grammar and vocabulary, absolutely. Oi, Richard. Oi, tudo bem? In big cities, people are always trying to flex how good their English is to show how educated they are. Yep, that's completely true in many places. Rich and everyone else, yes, I hit the like too. Yeah, please do remember to hit the like. I'll be wrapping up soon. Please do make sure you like and follow and join me on the other platforms as well. I write a lot on Twitter and I put things on Instagram and on Facebook, and you're all very welcome on all the platforms. But also, if you want to, go to have some additional help from me, private help, where I can go into your specific needs, then feel free to hit me up on Patreon too. Thank you very much, Antonio. Very kind. Entendo português, hablo en español, listen to English. Wow, cool. Never heard UK using tripping. Only in the States. Yeah, me too, Norma. Yes. I be tripping. I can't. It doesn't sound right, does it? There's no other distractions in. Yeah, no, there were more distractions than in 1999. Absolutely. Ciao, bye. Adios, Richard. No, it's okay. Focus. Which language in Europe will die soon? Breton or Frisian? Oh my word, Kurt. That means it's what a terrible question. Oh, which one will die soon? There are many languages that are in danger, but the way you've worded it makes it feel like we have to choose, like one of those games. You know, I don't know. I I hope none of them. They both deserve to live. Um, Do you think there's a huge difference learning the traditional way or the modern way using apps and such? Norma, good question. Possibly as well for another time now. Unfortunately, I've got to the end of this, I think, but I will come back to you. Can you put English subtitles on the video? You've explained how you've learned German. Yeah, do you know what? There were subtitles on that video, but I know what happened. I was really confused when I saw messages saying, "Where are your subtitles?" What happened was, um, I put that video up many years ago, and I added them in a place on YouTube where you, that does no longer exists. So what happened was YouTube deleted all of the subtitles, and so they're no longer there, which is super frustrating. But I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do. If I can do something, it just takes a long time to put subtitles back up, especially when you've done them. And I've got a gazillion things on my to-do list now, unfortunately. But I will do my best. I'll see if I can do it. Um, Anyway, for now, I will disappear. It was wonderful to spend time with you again. Remember to like, to subscribe, join me somewhere else. If you want to join me on Patreon, you're welcome. You can be invited to some of the groups that I work on, or individual consultations. I'm very, very happy to talk to you as well. But otherwise, I am here again next week. I'll be here waiting to talk to you for your questions, and I have some nice ideas for topics already, which is fantastic. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care, have a wonderful week, and happy language learning. Bye, everyone.